Welcome. This is a joint webinar hosted in partnership between Land Services SA and the Office of the Registrar-General.
The Office of the Registrar-General and Land Services SA acknowledge and respect Aboriginal peoples as the state's first peoples and nation, and recognise them as traditional custodians and occupants of land and waters in South Australia. Further, we acknowledge that the spiritual, social, cultural and economic practices of Aboriginal peoples come from their traditional lands and waters, that they maintain their cultural and heritage beliefs, languages and laws which are of ongoing importance, and they have made and continue to make a unique and irreplaceable contribution to the state.
This webinar is presented as part of the Land Services Industry Education Program. Land Services is committed to providing excellent customer service, and the Industry Education Program is one way we continue to deliver value to industry members. The program is targeted at providing regular industry education training, reducing requisitions across the board, ultimately saving time and money for industry members, and supporting industry members to deliver excellent services to your clients and the South Australian public. This webinar topic, the roles and responsibilities of the Office of the Registrar-General and Land Services SA, was originally requested by industry representatives at the Land Titling Advisory Group and was reinforced as an education opportunity through the results of the 2023 Industry Survey conducted by the Office of the Registrar-General. The content of this webinar includes a presentation from the Registrar-General, Jenny Cottenham, and Land Services SA, represented by Flynn Stewart, Manager of Registration Services. The key areas of discussion include an overview of the Land Services commercialisation transaction, an overview of Land Services SA, an overview of the Office of the Registrar-General, and to finish up, we will summarise the roles and responsibilities of the Office of the Registrar-General and Land Services SA. At this point, the pre-recorded webinar will come to a close. The Q&A session with the Registrar-General and Land Services SA representatives will not be recorded for later publishing, and we ask that participants hold on to all questions until the end of this pre-recorded presentation.
Overview of the Land Services commercialisation transaction and scope. For over 135 years, there has been a Land Titles Registration Office, known as the LTO. The LTO was entirely government run up until 13th October 2017, at which time Land Services SA took over the operation of the LTO to provide the land titling services and some of the valuation services to the state. This change of responsibility for the LTO meant the Office of the Registrar-General had to adapt to include in its responsibilities the oversight of the contractual obligations between the state and LSSA. With this change, a big focus of the government was that the service to the property industry would not be affected. This was done so well that many did not even realise it had happened until some time later. The commercialisation of the LTO was a significant change for the property industry and the community to accept. Commitment was given by the government to ensure the quality of the services provided, access to titling information, the data security and privacy protections remained at the highest levels. The government guarantee of title and the retention of key legal, policy and regulatory functions were also very important responsibilities committed to be kept by the state.
Overview of Land Services SA. As a trusted partner of the state, Land Services SA deliver high-valued, trusted services to the community, being recognised for creating innovative solutions. We are leading property experts in South Australia, offering a range of property transaction and valuation services, property information products, custom data sets, and reliable market insights. Industry members are encouraged to contact the Land Services SA office should you be interested in learning more about the many products and services on offer. Land Information Services. While Land Services SA have a number of teams and perform a range of functions, this webinar will focus on the role and responsibility of the Land Registry functions, which are delivered through Land Services Land Information Services branch. This branch is commonly referred to as the LIS team. Executive Manager of Land Information Services, Christy Clark, was one of the many staff that transitioned to Land Services SA during the commercialisation process and has a significant career history with the Land Registry. Christy oversees the 3 teams that deliver the Land Registry functions. Registration Services includes both the Registration Team and the Property Examination Team and is managed by Flynn Stewart. Division Services actions all plan examinations in South Australia and is managed by Frank Chulcio. Frank has a survey background and decades of experience with the Land Titles Office and Land Services SA. Shared Services manages the administrative functions of the Land Information Services team, including call centre operations, front counter reception, sales support, and an array of other administrative tasks. This team is managed by Liz Dillon, who is dedicated to the highest level of customer service. In an average month, the LIS team register over 20,000 dealings, examine over 300 plans, issue approximately 1,500 new certificates of title, and receive over 4,000 calls from both industry professionals and members of the general public. Division Services. The Division team is responsible for the examination and approval of cadastral plans. There are 10 different cadastral plan types, each with various subcategories or plan purposes. The most common plan types include file plans, deposited plans, and lease plans. Land Services expert plan examiners ensure all plans meet cadastral plan requirements, the PPG standard, legislative core requirements, and survey definition. Plan examiners mainly engage with members of the surveying industry, providing expert client advice on technical aspects of plan preparation, survey definition, and lodgement requirements. The Division team also provide advice to the general public, which mainly relates to land subdivision, fencing, and boundary inquiries. More broadly, the Division team maintains the Plan Presentation Guidelines, otherwise known as the PPG, with the final approval remaining with the Registrar General. The Division team offers premium consulting, which has been greatly received by industry. This paid service provides pre-examination of plans with special advice and site inspections. This provides efficiency for surveyors and developers who are more likely to achieve first-time plan approval and less chance of requisition. Registration Services Property Examination Team. The Property Examination Team examines and registers complex division dealings. This includes dealings that create, vary, or extinguish an easement, or otherwise involve the deposit of a plan. Some examples of the dealing types examined by this team are included on this slide. Land Services experienced property examiners are also responsible for old systems land inquiries and applications to bring land under the Real Property Act 1886. They also manage adverse possession claims and inquiries. Within this expert team, there are dedicated staff members responsible for the drafting and issuing new certificates of title. The property examination team mainly engage with members of the conveyancing and legal industries, but they may also receive inquiries from surveyors, developers, and members of the public. The team provide expert advice on the technical aspects of preparing division dealings and receive a large volume of public inquiries related to easements, community schemes, and encroachments. Similarly to the Division team, the property examiners offer the same premium consulting service to industry professionals. This paid service is widely used amongst the legal and conveyancing industry and is particularly useful for lodging parties preparing complex dealings with time pressures from clients. Registration Services Registration Team. The registration team is responsible for the bulk of dealings lodged with Land Services SA. While most dealings are lodged electronically, this team is responsible for the data entry and fee processing for all paper dealings. The expert members of this team examine dealings in accordance with the Real Property Act 1886 and process requisitions where appropriate. The registration team is also responsible for managing the Industry Compliance Program, ensuring industry members are certifying dealings correctly and collecting the necessary evidence. This team predominantly engages with the conveyancing and legal industry, with a significant volume of inquiries related to powers of attorney, caveats, and various other general lodgement questions. The registration team offers fast-track registration for eligible dealings. This paid service guarantees registration of a dealing within 3 business days and is available to request before or after lodgement. This new service has been quick to take off, demonstrating a clear industry demand for this service, particularly when a client requires expedited registration and is not eligible for the Reg Packet priority. Shared Services, first point of contact. The Shared Services team is comprised of customer service specialists. Dedicated to the highest level of customer service, the team is responsible for first point of contact for industry and public inquiries, valuation objections and inquiries, product support, sales support, and account management. The team is also the first point of contact for anyone visiting the Land Services office at 101 Grenfell Street. This team is responsible for the front counter reception. This includes assisting industry and public clients conduct searches and purchase products. If you attend the office to collect a requisition, this team will also be responsible for assisting you. In addition to this customer support role, the Shared Services team also conduct a range of administrative tasks, including scanning dealing images for upload to Salus, filing, historical document retrieval, and many other functions that support the office. If you have any questions regarding the services or products offered by Land Services SA, please do not hesitate to ask one of our friendly Shared Services officers next time you call or visit our office.
Overview of the Office of the Registrar General. It is my turn now to provide some clarity on what my office does. Before I start on my overview, I want to highlight the integrity of the South Australian land title system is the principle that forms an underlying basis to all what my office and LSSA do. The authority for my role as Registrar General is through the Real Property Act 1886. I also have responsibility as the Registrar General of Deeds, which relates to the Registration of Deeds Act 1935 and the General Registry Office. Although Land Services SA are responsible for the operations, the Registrar General has the regulatory oversight and, when required, provides direction to LSSA on complex Real Property Act matters. The Electronic Conveyancing National Law also provides me authorisation and responsibilities as Registrar General to set the South Australian operating requirements and to approve and regulate electronic lodgement network operators, or ELNOs. The ELNOs operating in South Australia are currently PEXA and Simply. As a member of the Australian Registrars National Electronic Conveyancing Council, I work alongside the registrars in all other jurisdictions to ensure national consistency and to progress work in relation to electronic conveyancing. Work currently being undertaken includes interoperability between ELNOs and the introduction of enforcement provisions within the Electronic Conveyancing National Law. There are three teams in the Office of the Registrar General: Contracts and Compliance, Policy and Legislation, and ICT and Innovation. Our Contracts and Compliance team is responsible for the day-to-day management of the contractual obligations in relation to the state and LSSA. These contract requirements include if LSSA would like to introduce any changes to the land information systems, approval must be sought from my office. An example is a digital plan lodgement system, which is due to be implemented shortly. There has been extensive consultation and collaboration between my office and LSSA occurring in order to gain the relevant approvals. Another requirement is that LSSA must report any critical errors so as direction can be sought as to the next steps. The Contracts and Compliance team also conducts regular audits on many aspects of the services undertaken by LSSA. For the more extensive audits of financial or ICT matters, we enlist the assistance of expert independent auditors. Another responsibility of this team is financial management. This includes the collection of state revenue and payment of service fees to Land Services SA. The annual fees and charges process is also a significant task. The Policy and Legislation team has responsibility in ensuring the legislation and policy remains fit for purpose. A current example is the remaking of the Real Property Regulations. The team have a major part in that whole process, which includes the current consultation with industry. Any litigation I am involved with, the Policy and Legislation team provides the support to me and is often the first contact with the Crown Solicitor's Office. They are also the first port of call where other government agencies are changing their own legislation, which has some relationship with land titling, or where there is a government project that needs land titling expertise. The team are also responsible for undertaking the Assurance Fund claim process, Section 146 discharges, and approval of LTO forms. Electronic conveyancing is also a key focus, which includes the ongoing regulation of electronic lodgement network operators through annual compliance assessment, as well as reviewing monthly reports, liaising with LSSA, industry and LNOs, and being part of the national working groups. The ICT and Innovation team provides oversight in respect to SALIS and ensuring compliance with the South Australian Cyber Security Framework. The team also has responsibility relating to the management of incidents where state systems have integration with SALIS. Other responsibilities relate to conducting internal LSSA ICT audits and working with external auditors for the more complex ICT audits. The team can also provide expert advice in relation to any requests for approvals made to the Office of the Registrar General that has an ICT component. The OIG ICT team also provides expertise in analysing and facilitating data requests from government. They are also involved in the annual fees and charges changes update process and have a significant involvement in updating the Form 1 Property Interest Report template and providing support to agencies to the maintenance of property and administrative interests. Summary of roles and responsibilities. In summary, the Office of the Registrar General and Land Services SA have distinct responsibilities. LSSA being customer facing with the critical land titling services, including the registration of dealings and issue of titles, whereas the Office of the Registrar General have the regulatory responsibilities and oversight of contractual obligations. All very important responsibilities, but we work together to ensure the property industry are provided excellent land titling services.
Industry Education Hub. Land Services website has a range of educational and support materials to assist you in your day-to-day work. Land Services Industry Education Hub is a good place to start. This can be found by clicking Industry Education Hub on the homepage of Land Services website. A copy of today's webinar will be published on the Industry Education Hub together with a recording of previously held webinars. That concludes the recorded webinar section. Thank you for listening. Please remain online for the live Q&A session with Registrar General Jenny Cotnam and Flynn Stewart, Manager Registration Services.